Guess who's back? Back again. JP's back. Oh no, don't watch. Just kidding. Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to my channel, JPM.Cuisine. Back again with another knife review, a little unboxing, and a quick first look at ultimately some of my favorite line of knives. This is my 8-inch Millenia chef's knife. One of my favorite knives. This is definitely my workhorse beater type knife that I use in the kitchen, regardless of whatever the task is. This is one of the knives I go to. This is one of my travel knives. I absolutely adore the Millenia chef's knife. Today we're checking out the Millenia Wide Chef. Let's go ahead and get it out of here. Ooh, okay, wow, this is a much more stout knife right there, guys. Okay, so again, it's an 8-inch. So the length is essentially on the edge is the same as my previous Millenia. We've got a hollow grind edge on it, a much taller profile. So we're looking at maybe almost 1/4 inch difference, okay? A lot heavier, a lot thicker, or not necessarily thicker, but a lot more stout, definitely a lot more metal. Let's see if you can see ooh, look at that profile. Isn't that nice? Look at how it tapers off with that hollow ground. Anyways, let's go ahead and get the measurement on the weight. I'm curious to see what we got. So we're looking at 253 grams versus 172 on the other one. So we've got 253 grams on this knife. It has the Santoprene, similar to the thumb dimples for grip. It's got a textured palm on the back of the handle. We've got some texturing there. We've got actually some like stippling there. So the Santoprene is actually a little bit grippier. My other Santoprene on my Millenia was smooth, but it was still very grippy, especially with wet hands. And so let's take a look at the profile here. Kind of flat near the heel. Big angle where we go to the tip. Get that thick rock on there, but it is very stout. And I think the balance is just a little bit above right where the NSF is. So one of my viewers had asked me to look into the Wide Chef. I wasn't even familiar with what this knife was, so I looked it up. So I'm curious to see, you know, sort of what the difference is. If people are really interested in getting sort of the wider, thicker knives, this is definitely, it feels more like a cleaver, honestly, the weight. The style itself, very similar to the chef knife already. That tapering though, and that hollow ground edge, very nice. So let's just get into some cutting here. So I always say I'm never gonna cut onions, but I end up cutting onions. Let's do our horizontal cut. We're just gonna dice, and it's a lot. You know, it's definitely thicker. I'm at a weird angle because I'm sitting down, but I'm just checking to see sort of how it feels in terms of the drag. Because we do have a thicker taper here on the back of the spine, and that taper down towards the edge, that hollow ground, and then we've got the edge. And so this is a little bit of a thick knife, especially near that tip, and you're gonna feel that when you're cutting, as I can feel right now. So maybe fine work is gonna be possible. It's just gonna obviously not be sitting down, but it's gonna take a little bit of effort. It feels like a chopper, guys. It really does feel like a chopper. And I hate cutting onions in my studio because, good Lord, you're gonna smell that for at least 3 days. That heel, man, that heel has so much power in it. You get a lot of leverage from that heel itself. And so just using that, I notice a big difference in terms of feel from the Wide Chef to the regular Millenia. So take that into consideration. Fit and finish is gonna feel, I mean, in terms of the handle, it feels exactly like my other Millenia, except with those stippled texture on the heel and on the grip itself. So it feels a lot more textured. I think you're gonna need it for this much mass. But honestly, I feel like if you didn't wanna get a cleaver, I don't think it's gonna replace the chef's knife. It doesn't feel like it can, of course. I mean, it has a similar cutting profile, so you can get a lot of the same performance out of it. But the way that it feels, the weight on it, it just doesn't strike me as being a full replacement. Although, you know, it's my first time using it, And so maybe after I use this for a little bit, I might change my mind. I mean, it feels, this is a very ripe tomato. And so if you don't have a pristine edge, it's gonna show. And so there was a little bit of drag on this one. It still works. Let me do some cuts, some slices. I mean, it's definitely cutting. This is such an awkward angle. I haven't cut in front of camera in a long time, and so I don't know how I do this. This is really weird. So I can find a different studio setup where I can maybe do some standing or some different camera angles. If you got any ideas on what I might consider doing or how I might rearrange my studio, let me know. I'll definitely look into it. But for what we have right now, this is my COVID setup. And so I'm kind of in my bedroom right now. Well, not kinda, I am in my bedroom. Anyways, so it feels nice. Let me just see if I can push. I definitely can't push down just with the pressure of the knife itself. The edge isn't as sharp as you would need, but it does, you know, with the weight when you're dragging through, it just feels so weird cutting like this. It's not the knife at all, it's me. But it's definitely, with that added weight, it's just cutting through when you ever use the weight. You don't have to push, is what I'm trying to say. You don't have to use much force. It doesn't have a serrated edge that you move back and forth, but it's got a lot of heft, so it doesn't require much force. Now, Daikon. Daikon, let's see what we get out of this. This is a stout thing to cut. And so let me cut it in, oh yeah, right there. That is a splitter. Look at that. So it definitely, if you have something heavy or rough that you need to cut, because of the thickness on the spine, you're gonna get a lot of splitting. It's not gonna be a precise cut at all, but because of the weight, it's gonna feel similar to a cleaver, and it's just gonna power through anything. So rough chops, things of that nature, you're not really trying to be precise or fine. I think you're gonna be fine with using this knife. It feels very, very comfortable. The profile feels very familiar, if you will, because it is that chef's knife, but the weight of it makes it feel very different. And I've been using that Millenia for a long time, and this has a very different feel. So if you're thinking that you're gonna pick this up and it's gonna feel exactly the same as your Millenia, it's not. It's a lot heftier of a knife, but it feels, the handle is throwing me off because it feels exactly like my Millenia, but once I pick it up, it's very heavy. I really like this knife. Just from my initial impressions on it, it feels very well built, well put together. Even though it's like under $20, I would, for $20, I mean, it doesn't feel like a Kiwi. Obviously a Kiwi is a very thin piece of metal, but this feels very stout, and I cannot believe I got this for under $20. And so, honestly, pick one up. I wouldn't second guess it. If it's your only knife that you're gonna be picking up, I would still recommend the Millenia over. The Millenia is obviously the quintessential. The Millenia is your typical chef's knife, and the weight of it and everything just feels really great. And so if I were to consider getting a knife, if I could only get one, I'm still getting my Millenia chef knife. This is number one. But if I have an extra 20 bucks laying around and I got prime shipping, I guess, or whatever, I'm gonna take a look at this one. It's a very different knife. I feel like it's very robust, very stout. It's still X30 CR13, so you know the steel is the same steel as the other one, but as you can see, man, it's got a lot more height on the back of that knife, so you're getting a lot more cutting edge, if you will, especially on that heel for that chopping. Man, great knife. Great job, Mercer. I don't know why you made it, but it is something unique, and at under $20, it definitely feels like a good pickup. I like the way the steel feels in it. I mean, of course, you know, people are gonna still prefer Japanese style knives, and that's fine. That's, You know, it's all preference there. But I think if you're considering this one, if you're not sure, you're on the fence at this price, you know, pick it up. You know, I wouldn't probably go more than 25 or 30 for a Millenia, just because I haven't seen them go for that high. And so that's the only reason I wouldn't recommend going higher than that. I definitely would pick up a Millenia over Victorinox. I do prefer the Santoprene style handles over the Victorinox Fibrox type handle. The edge for me is, you know, they're very similar. This one is highly polished compared to the regular Millenia, but man, it feels great. I kind of like that hollow grind. It's gonna be kind of easy to sharpen. I'd probably put it on a steel a couple times or just to hone it on my ceramic honing rod a little bit, try and get a better edge on it, just because it didn't cut as sharply as I'm used to on my Millenia. It could be the profile, but I would still want to test that out before I make a final conclusion on whether or not you know, what I think about the edge. But all in all, I think it's a great knife. At that price, definitely worth it. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Apologies for all the delays. I've been busy working and everything, you know, with COVID and whatnot. So just getting my studio reset up, trying out a different table. Everybody, I don't know how many complaints I got, but it was more than 0 on my previous table that everybody hated. They specifically hated it for my cleaver test. And so I apologize for using a flimsy table. That's the situation we have with COVID. Most of you probably who complain won't even get this far, so you'll never know. But all my true fans, you guys know what's up. Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna give this one a lot more use in the kitchen. It's definitely not replacing this, but I'm gonna use it a lot more often just to see how I feel. And maybe in a couple of months, I might revisit and tell you whether or not I think you can get by with just the Wide Chef. I do like the title, the Wide Chef. I like the way that they print it on there. And so, awesome. All right, you guys, thanks for watching. We're gonna try and get these out a little bit sooner, maybe a little bit more frequently. I've got a few knives that are queued up that I need to test out. And so I'm gonna be making a few more videos, but just keep your eyes peeled for that. If you haven't, go ahead and subscribe. Like this video, let me know that I'm doing a good job. And there's a little bell, you know what it does. You've been using YouTube long enough, I imagine, and so I don't have to explain to you what it does, but if you wanna click on that and see whenever I get a new video out, that's the easiest way. All right, you guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.